And she took of its fruit and ate. And she also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. Now let's stop there. So again, about this, like, did the devil make you do it? Did the devil make her do this? No. He planted a thought that may have already been there, okay? Because I've often said and made a case, without this teaching, but I made a case that he brings out what's already there. Because a lot of you have never had a thought of getting drunk off your whatever and because just drinking was never a thing for you. So guess what? The voice never says, hey, why don't you go have a drink? Because you're not interested. Okay, where somebody else, that would be a temptation. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the thing is that you're tempted with doesn't mean everybody's tempted by the same thing. But don't think, well, they're just stronger than I am when that voice comes. No, the voice doesn't bother them because it's not something that you ever had the thought. I think she had a thought. Okay. I believe that she had a thought, and he's bringing that out and exposing it. Somewhere throughout this teaching, I'm hoping a light bulb goes on where you understand that when you get advice from the wrong entity, they may actually be functioning as a HaSatan or as a Satan. In other words, as an adversary, in that they're going to encourage you to do something dumb or something inappropriate or something you shouldn't do. Even though I'm not saying they're the devil, it's a behavior. Let me kind of prepackage this. We all know there's a thing called HaMashiach, the Messiah. Are there other Mashiachs? All throughout scriptures, plenty. Even a pagan king was a Mashiach, an anointed. But all pointing to a being that's ultimately the Mashiach. We're gonna see here that there's a difference between acting like those other ones acted like an anointed, acted like a Mashiach, versus being the Mashiach. Well, here there's gonna be acting like versus being the adversary. So there's gonna be an enemy role between your seed and her seed. So seed meaning those who come through a mindset, a belief system. Because a seed is what? The birthings of the thing that's gonna grow. So a seed from an apple tree is going to make an apple. That's why even Yeshua says, you are of your father, the devil. Not literally, it's your behavior, your mindset, your things are in line with that line. So you're like the seed, okay? Because when you grow, you look like the thing that your father was, so to speak. Anybody know that whole thing that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, so to speak, or you look just like, you're acting just like your mother, you're acting just like your father, whatever, okay? That's kind of what we mean by seed here, not necessarily literal birth seed. Because everybody, according to what we read here, it seems like everybody comes out of Adam and Chava, so that means everybody's of that seed. Nowhere does it say that we are now stuck with original sin, except for the idea that women will have problems in birth and labor, and men will have a hard time getting stuff out of the ground at times. I mean, those things are a consequence of this original sin, so to speak, this first sin, but we're not under, quote unquote, original sin. Remember, we have Ezekiel 18 that says, hey, if your father was the worst thing ever, but you do what's right, you're fine. Well, if that works literally just one generation, then it certainly works from the beginning of time. So I don't know where the Catholics or whoever came up with this original sin thing, because I think they're the ones who gave that to us, but that's just not scriptural. Yes, there was a first one this is the first sin. So as far as original, yes, the first one. Does it have consequences for us? Yes. So this is what a Satan devil does, lead the nations astray. So he gave Chava leading questions. He was leading her in a way. Did he make her do anything? In this verse, does he say that here, the devil, the dragon, whatever, that he forced the nations to do anything, made them to do anything? No, he led them astray. How do you lead someone astray? Convince them that what they're doing is right. Isn't that what happened in the garden? Convince them that what they're doing is right. Oh, well, you know that he didn't mean it that way. That fruit's gonna make you like him. It's gonna be good. You're gonna be just like him. Wrong information, wrong motivation, yet it's still your choice. Stop saying the devil made me do it. Unless, as we go through this, you realize that may be you acting in an adversarial way, okay? Because the word actually means, Satan means adversary. It says that when the 1,000 years were ended, Satan was released. What? He's been leading everybody astray. Why would you let him out? Because he serves a useful role. But you don't want to think of Satan as a useful role because he's the enemy, he's the devil, we call him literally the enemy. Everything's his fault. That's what the church taught you. Everything bad, everything wrong, everything evil is his fault. He's being set free so he can figure out, God wants to say all these people that had 1,000 years free of him, let's see what they're made of. Just like with Job, his job is to bring out anything that's inside that needs to be dealt with, because he's released. I would have been much happier if it said he escaped. I still wouldn't have been happy with that, because like, how would God lock him up in a way that he could escape? But escaped would have been better in my mind, because then God isn't behind it. But ladies, have you ever spoke to one of your lady friends in a horrible way about your husband, only to regret it later because then you felt better about him later? Because whatever it was is no longer happening. It was the moment, you were PO'd and you were all mad, and then, oh, now everything's better, and now your friend's like, why are you still with that guy? I mean, you told me he was the worst thing since sliced bread, whatever, you know, that's the worst thing. See, notice I use sliced bread, because sliced bread's terrible for you now, just know that. Okay, but he's like the worst thing. Now, you're telling me everything's great? How's that? Well, I was mad and blah, 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 blah. You want someone's gonna talk to you straight. Satan's not gonna talk to you straight. Satan's gonna push you and encourage you to go exactly wherever it is you wanna go. You wanna go off in that rate? Cheer you on, clap, yeah, go, do it. All right, absolutely. Again, we go into like, well, maybe it doesn't say HaSatan. Well, we'll let you know when the first time it says HaSatan, and it does, mostly in Job, HaSatan. And we'll talk about where the first time we see HaSatan, but here it's LeSatan, but still Satan. So you're learning about what this word means. Because anywhere we see Mashiach, it functions like a Mashiach. It has an aspect of Mashiach that we all agree and understand. Can we agree to that? So Satan has an element of being an adversary, opposing and obstructing, all right? In this case, there's a positive reason. I mean, Yahweh sent him because he did not like Bilam's decision to get up when he didn't do exactly what he was told. He wasn't told to get up and go. He was told if they come to see you and ask you to come, that you get up and go. And that didn't happen. And so Yahweh was starting to say, like, look, if you're not gonna follow my directions exactly, we're gonna have a problem. Anybody ever get really strong and really stubborn, really almost angry, violent with somebody, and it turns out you were wrong, and they were just trying to help you? I own that. I've done that probably lots of times. Bad idea. Don't do that. Donkey says to him, am I not your donkey in which you've ridden ever since I became yours to this day? Was I ever known to do so to you? And he said, no. Why are you beating on people that you know have always been nice to you, always helped you, always been there for you, and then all of a sudden you're treating them like they were the meanest, horrible person there is? You've never done that, right? None of you ever did that. I'm the only one who did that. Or it's been done to you, and you look at the person like, I've always been nice to you. Why are you doing this to me? I've always been there for you. I've always been trustworthy and reliable, and you could count on me. Why are you doing this to me? Like you forgot who I am in our relationship? So if you barely vetted each other for marriage, what do you think the vetting is he's gonna do? He's a lot smarter than us. See, this is why Christianity's got it so wrong. Oh, well, I believe in Messiah. Good, so now you're in forever. That doesn't make any sense. There's no logic to that. It's irrational. He is actually vetting you to see whether or not he wants to give you forever. Now, he wants to give everybody forever, but will you qualify by showing yourself to be trustworthy under temptation to do what's right? So eternity equals trustworthy under temptation to do what's right. Maybe you need to write that down somewhere and memorize that, all right? Qualifications for eternity, being trustworthy under temptation to do what's right. So that means you have to be under temptation. And then just to really see how you're doing, he gives you a cheerleader.